Hello people, I have a new video for you today. This is gonna be about something very important to me. So important in fact that I have a plan and a piece of paper with words on it. Right, I know. It's gonna be about making your PC quiet. Not just quiet, but cool and quiet. I know it sounds kind of stupid to say cool and quiet, but that's the only way I can really explain it. Now I'm gonna bring you in for a closer look and show you what I'm talking about. Also, I'm gonna do some screenshots, products and stuff. You'll see along the way. So don't freak out when stuff changes. Just have a look. Okay, now the very first thing, if you wanna build a silent PC, is choosing a case. Now there are a lot of silent cases on the market. Some are better than others. A few I would recommend would be something like the Corsair HX-750, the Cooler Master Silencio, or however it's pronounced, or the Fractal Design R3. Now, if you don't have a silent case, you have just a normal case, you can still do stuff to it to make it generally quieter. This is a Cooler Master HAF-X. This is in no way, shape or form meant to be a silent case. It's a case designed for high-end users, quad SLI, stuff like that, water cooling, I don't know. So it isn't marketed, it isn't designed to be silent, but it still does a good job. Now, what you look for in a case if you want a silent one? You should look for sound deadening. The material is put on it to block out sound and noise. This case doesn't have any on it. You can buy, aftermarket material that you have to put on yourself. I personally wouldn't recommend that because one, you have to be really skilled in order to do it properly, to make it actually look decent. And if especially for a big case like this, you're going to need a lot of material, and it's not cheap. So personally, if your case doesn't come with sound deadening, don't bother with it, because you can do other things to it to make it quieter, which involve much less work and much less money. Generally, you shouldn't expect, like a case that costs like, $40, $50 or euros or whatever you want to call them. You shouldn't expect, a case like that to be as quiet as one that is 150 or more. So, as everything, price is a determining factor, but you still have to choose one that's designed to be quiet. If you have something like this, I'm just gonna go through the fans I have in here and explain a bit about that. Now in front, this is a 230, I think it's a 230mm. In the top there's a 200. Now the side panel's off, but on the side panel I have another 200, and the case doesn't come with it, but right here, right behind this, I've mounted a 140mm fan. And besides the fans and the cases, I have the 3 fans around the CPU cooler, the 2 on the cooler, the 120 Noctua, 140, and a 140 exhaust. Now you may say, well, that's a lot of fans, and fans generally make noise. That's true. But you can do stuff to fans to make them much quieter. First thing, fourth and most important, is the RPM. That's the rotations that the fan does in 1 minute. Generally less RPM means less airflow, also means less noise. For example, right now, the fan in the front here, I'm running off of 12 volts, so it's on full speed. But with large fans, 180, 200, 230, generally don't worry about noise, because they're pretty quiet, because they spin, being very big, they spin at low RPM. So that's generally not a problem with them. So this one and the one at the top, 200, are blowing at 12 volts. So, and they're very quiet. Now the one I have on the side panel, I actually have the cable right here. This is a 5 volt, it's a 5 volt speed reducer, because the graphics card I have in here is in no way, a hot and powerful graphics card. So, there's no point in this fan blowing, too loudly or blowing too hard to cool it. That's not an issue for me. It may be for you, however. Another thing, if your case doesn't come with fans, or it comes with fans that you don't like, and you want to buy new fans, it's very important to choose appropriately. Now there are fans out there, like 4000 RPM deltas, which are horrible in my opinion. They sound like a jet plane. But there are also a lot of fans that are designed to be quiet. They are designed to spin at low RPMs. You know, stuff like Noctua or Fractal Design also has some quiet fans. There are a lot of quiet fans. Generally look at the RPM. Lower the RPM, the quieter it's gonna be. You generally want to strike a balance between RPM and airflow. Now, if you go into a bit more detail on that, you gotta take what's it called, air pressure into consideration, especially for CPU coolers. Air pressure sometimes is much more important than just pure airflow. So again, you need to take that into consideration. So, if you have a system, it's loud, too loud for you. What should you do? First thing you should do. Well, the first thing you should do is identify which component or components are the loudest ones. Now, generally speaking, the graphics card is probably gonna be the loudest thing in your system, especially under full load. Now, this graphics card, which I'm sure you can't see very well because it's black motherboard, black case. Trust me, it's an MSI 7770. You know what? I'm just gonna take it out and show it to you guys. Now, this is my graphics card. It's not a super high-end one. It's absolutely fine for what I do. Now you can see it has two fans on it. Now these two fans spin at low RPM. Generally, graphics cards with aftermarket coolers like this one, or custom coolers like this one, are quieter and cooler than reference designs. The reference design with a blower style fan, those generally speaking are louder. Although some of the newer ones like the GTX 680 are very quiet. But having design like this and a fairly low power graphics card means that you can achieve very good temperatures for it, but still have it quiet. Personally, when this is running in full load, I can barely tell the difference between when it's running on idle, and that is a very good thing. And now, if for example your graphics card is the loudest thing in your system, well, basically it means you've chosen a pretty poor graphics card. Now you should always buy a graphics card with a decent cooler on it. I mean by decent, I mean one that can keep it cool and quiet. Most aftermarket ones, like I said, do this. Stuff like Asus's Direct CU2 or MSI's Twin Frozer, what else, Gainweight Phantom. Those are pretty quiet but still achieve good performance. You can still overclock it and keep it quiet. Just as an example, a couple of years ago I had a pair of GTX 470s, stock ones. When those spun up, I felt like I had a jet plane in my room. They were just horrible, appalling. Now, you can buy aftermarket coolers for your graphics card and install them. You can buy passive ones if you have a low powered one, or you can buy just normal ones that have a 120mm fan on it, for example. I think Thermalright does something like those. Arctic Cooling has their Accelero ones. Those are pretty good and still quiet. Now, that's what you can do. Personally, I would recommend just buying one that's good from the start and not having to spend extra money buying aftermarket coolers when you discover that the card is too loud for you. Now, the second most important thing I believe, and the second loudest thing in some systems, is the CPU cooler. Now, a CPU cooler that is not cool and quiet, from my opinion, is a waste of time, money, effort, whatever. Now, all CPU coolers should be quiet but still offer good performance. Now, most modern ones do that, but they're expensive. I mean, stuff like this, like the Noctua NHD14. This one does a very good job of cooling my CPU. I'm going to show you, once I have the system put out here, I'm going to show you the temperatures and that I get with the overclock I have right now. But as I said, this is quite expensive. It's not cheap in any way for a cooler. But personally, I think it's well worth the money because you're getting everything. I cannot complain about one thing with regards to this cooler. It does absolutely everything I need, and it has a 5 or 7 year warranty. Most good coolers will have that type of warranty and will offer you very good performance also. Now I'm going to talk a bit about the setup I have here on the CPU cooler. Now these two fans came with the cooler. This one I added extra as an exhaust. Now all of them are running up with 7 volts. Now I did that with something like this. This is a fan speed reducer. Normally the fans are on 12 volts, full RPM all the time. You can get reducers, you know, on 7 volts and 5 volts. Now Noctua fans come with reducers in the pack, you know, so I use those. You can buy extra ones, they're really cheap. Now the Noctua fans, even at 12 volts, they're in no way loud fans. Nobody can say they're loud. But I wanted to bring, you know, everything I could bring down in terms of noise. Also, the setup I have here, where I've added the fan in the front right here, this fan is also running on 7 volts. This is actually the fan that was on the back of the case, the Cooler Master 140mm. So that's blowing in air straight into the CPU cooler, is then, you know, blowing over the heat sinks and then being exhausted. So basically I want to have like a column of air, you know, being pushed through the system and out here. And having, you know, all the fans at the same, you know, similar RPM helps that doesn't distort the airflow. And I believe, you know, that organizing your airflow in a good way isn't, I don't have anything, you know, put here in front of it. Nothing that can distort the airflow, you know, create extra noise when the air is blowing over it. You know, so doing that, I believe that I'm also getting very good cooling, also keeping the noise down. So, you know, in terms of investment, if you already have a system like this and you want to make it quiet, all you need to do is have 4 of these, which are really cheap. Now, as I said in the beginning, the rest of the fans are running off of 12 volts because they're big fans. I don't really, you know, they don't make noise. You can, you know, if you have smaller fans, you can put reducers on them. Absolutely no problem. What I want to do in the future actually is have another one of these 7770s over here. Now at that point I may give up on this 5 volt adapter for the 200mm fan on the side panel. We'll see how the temperatures are, you know. Right, so we talked about that. Power supply. All power supplies, all big or high wattage decent power supplies have a fan on it. Now with power supplies, avoid the cheap ones at any cost. Avoid them, run away as far as you can. Now most modern ones that are high quality, that, you know, from decent company, are very quiet. I mean, the 140mm, 135mm fan in this Corsair one is almost silent. Anything from, you know, from companies like Corsair, Enermax, Antec, you know, Seasonic, decent Cooler Master, decent stuff like that is gonna be really quiet. Also avoid the power supplies which have, you know, like 80mm fans. I don't know if they still make them. Antec used to make some. Avoid small fans. Generally speaking, with any fan, except maybe, you know, like GPU fans, don't go for anything smaller than 120, because small fans usually spin at high RPMs, whereas big fans spin at low RPMs, and small fan is always going to be louder. Now another thing I want to talk about, motherboard. This motherboard is completely passive. Some high-end motherboards, like the Asus, what is it, Rampage 4 I think, have, you know, like small blower fans on the chipset. Now those fans are very loud, and I think from what I've learned, they break quite often. That's all small fans break quite often. Like, you know, the Asus Sabertooth Z77 one also has a fan on the PWM. Again, such small fans, they don't really push a lot of air, and I think that they're just, you know, to show off. So personally, avoid you know, small fans on the motherboard. Not saying those two motherboards are bad, they're very good. Okay? Say you've sorted out all your fans. They're all running, you know, fairly low, they're decent quality, running fairly low RPM. You have a quiet GPU, quiet CPU cooler, everything's fine. Another thing you can discover is actually, if you let the system run and you touch it, you can sense vibrations sometimes in it, very small vibrations, and those can damage components over time, and they can also produce a lot of noise, buzzing noise. Now I have my case on these wheels, which actually don't help a lot when it comes to vibration. They actually make a lot of vibration. Now what you can do, well, some cases do come with, you know, rubber mounts on the hard drive, because hard drives spin very fast and they actually produce a lot of noise. So those would be good. I don't have them. That's my biggest problem right now, because my hard drive is at this moment by far the loudest thing in this computer. When it's working, I can hear the hard drive louder than any of the fans in the case. Now, I want to show you what I've done here in the back. I don't know if you can see this, but there are some rubber grommets, or I don't know what to call them, I don't know the word in English, sorry. Now I use these to mount the fan to it, to the case. It's something like this. You just pull it through. Now these, being rubber instead of metal screws, they actually absorb a large amount of vibration that's transferred from the fan to the case, because every moving object, every fan, everything that's moving is going to create vibration. They're not 100% perfect. They're still plastic, so they create vibration. Having stuff like this on the case, between the case and the fan, actually does help quite a lot. Now I haven't done this to all the fans, because when I've tried to listen to it, I've seen that the big ones don't really create any vibration. I don't know if you can actually hear that, but that's a hard drive, and it's louder than anything in this case. I gotta get an SSD, but I still need a hard drive, for storage and stuff. Now I know my camera, isn't gonna. I don't know if it's gonna pick up the noise as well, but I'm gonna shut up a bit and just let you hear it. In fact, I'm gonna bring the camera a bit in closer. Just you can, just leave a few seconds to have a hear. So this is the system running. So this is the system running. Now the hard drive has stopped spinning. Just so you know, none of the fans are on PWM. They're running at the same RPM all the time. So basically this is the peak noise the system makes. Okay guys, so I'm running the stress test on my CPU on the Intel Extreme tuning utility. Now I'm gonna show you the temperatures I'm getting. Now you can see my current overclock, which is 4.2 GHz. CPU utilization is 100%. You can see all the stuff right here. Now let me just open up this baby and this one. Now again, 4.2. You can look at the max temperatures. You can see they're all under 70 degrees. My hottest core is the third one, which has a maximum of under 70 degrees. Now you can say, oh, on an Intel Core i5-3570K you can get more than 4.2 GHz. True, you can. I can get about 4.6 out of it with decent volts, but I wanted to have the highest temperature under 70 degrees or maximum of 70 degrees. Also, I wanted over 4 GHz, and I still wanted it to be quiet. Now if I put the fans on a Noctua back on 12 volts, then I can drop these temperatures by about 5 degrees at least, or I can push the overclock up to 4.6 and still have something like under 75 degrees for a core. But I didn't want that. I wanted it to be quiet, and 4.2 honestly is enough, is basically enough for whatever you need. Well guys, I think that was it. Now I know it's a lot of information to process in a short period of time. I hope that this guide, or I don't know if I should call it a guide, maybe like a bunch of information, I hope it's gonna be useful. Okay, so I'll see you guys. Bye.